Hey everyone, Misha here, and I have a very special tarot review for you today. In honor of the upcoming Halloween season, I have the Trick or Treat Tarot created by Duck Soup Productions. Now, this is a deck that I want to say I found maybe on Etsy or it is a deck that is produced by a small business. So, Tarot by Duck Soup, if you decide that you really like this one and you want to purchase it, that is where you can find it. And this deck actually says that it is copyright 2017, but I just discovered it last year in 2020. So let's take a look. So first of all, we have a text box, and this is actually a pretty sturdy one, which I appreciate because I usually destroy these. And we've got our deck inside. Now, the first thing you might notice is that the guidebook is pretty small. It's really just going to give you a very basic overview. I'll kind of show it to you. It's only going to give you the most general of information about everything. So hopefully if you buy this deck, you're not going to really be necessarily worried about what everything means, but the information is there and it's keyword. What I really like is there's a cute little haunted house spread, which is, I am a big fan of creators making spreads just especially for the deck. And so if you go to page 10, which, it doesn't have page numbers. Okay, well, okay, well, there it is. All right, there we go. That is the first spread on the reading spreads. And then we also have a Halloween tree and a jack-o'-lantern spread, which is super cute. So I'm a big fan of that. And then this gives you a little bit of information about the deck itself. So again, hopefully if you're buying a theme deck like this, you are pretty comfortable with the cards, but if not, what you'll get with this one is a good basic overview and keyword for the cards. So let's take a look at the deck itself. The backs are so cute. I love this Halloween imagery. It is so fun and it is reversible. So of course you can do reversals without any problem. The cards themselves are not super thick. They're pretty sturdy, but you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see, this one's already getting a little bent up. I'm not super rough on my cards, but I think that may have just come from the box. They are nice and matte. So, and they feel like, they're not really thick, but they feel good and sturdy in my hand, which I really love. You can already probably tell, as I'm holding the cards here, that the theme of this deck is vintage Halloween, which I freaking adore. I bought this deck because it reminded me of when I was a kid and we would have these like little paper Halloween decorations that were, I think, probably from the 70s or 80s, and we even had some older ones that were metal, and we would put them up in our windows, and this deck reminded me of that so much. So I love the fact that it's kind of a collage look, and all of the color palette is in this sort of muted Halloween theme colors of purples, blacks, oranges, greens, all sorts of kind of a very fall palette. Nothing is super bold, but at the same time, it all fits into that overarching theme of the deck, which I love. So let's take a look at some of the majors. So we have the Fool, Magician, the High Priestess, love it, gorgeous. And if you'll notice, like there's her little pomegranate. So one of the things I really like when I find a deck that's by an indie creator is when they clearly throw in some of the symbols. And I think that's always a nice little nod. We have the Empress. So this cat right here, that's totally one of the types of decorations that I had that I remember from having as a kid, was we had these like cutout cats with the little legs that moved. So this was just a really fun one. I also like it because this deck isn't super spooky. Some of the Halloween decks that are out there are pretty intense. This one is more fun and can get you into the spirit without necessarily tons of gore. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you were reading at a Halloween party and you wanted to use a deck that was Halloween themed, but maybe not potentially offensive or troubling or scary, too scary, I guess, this would be a good one. So there we have the Emperor. He's kind of a Dracula looking chap. The Hierophant, love it. Got the key. Oh, the Lovers. Oh, that's awesome. That is super fun. Oh, fantastic. The Chariot, that is super cute. I'm laughing at a lot of these because it just feels fun. This is a very, I think, like for me, this is a very fun Halloween deck. It's a very high-spirited one, if you'll excuse the pun, but it has that feeling of like Halloween being fun and not scary. And here we have our first major card that does not follow our kind of typical naming that we would find in our Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We have Adjustment. So this one is bringing in that energy of balance, clarity of mind, and justice, but we just have a little bit of a different name. And from the book, we're talking about acting from a position of intellectual detachment. So same kind of energy, same kind of idea, but just a little bit of a different name. Then we've got the Hermit, which is a very scarecrow, love it. The Wheel of Fortune. I love this image. That is super in the artistic vibe of what I remember from childhood. Strength. Again, we had that classic female and a scary animal. This time it's a bear, which is super fun. The Hanged Man. Got that pumpkin head ghost. And then here, this is interesting. So for this card, we actually don't have any kind of words on it. So this is where our artist is starting, and our deck creator is starting to get a little even more creative, and I find that super fun. Little unexpected in a Halloween deck is always welcome. This is the card with no name, and according to the book, it is transformative influence, all things must pass. So that's kind of a neat one. And then immediately after that, we have art coming in. Old Scratch is, of course, the Devil. Not just the tower, but the Tower of Destruction, and that is a particularly rough tower. We have the Star, the Moon, the Sun, the Eon, which is another beautiful way of looking at judgment, and then the World. That's a fun one as well. So one of the things to keep in mind with this is that the artist stayed with a lot of the themes of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So if you are a tarot reader and you're used to reading tarot and you understand like what the major cards are, that will probably be pretty familiar for you. But anytime those names start to change, it brings in a different context. So keep that in mind. So this is a deck that I would strongly recommend. If you wanted to use it, you sit with it and you get to know it. Because if you're doing a reading for someone, you don't want, like for instance, that card with no name to pop up and to sit there and go, ooh, you know, I don't actually know what that is. Whereas, you know, it's going to be in there representing some of your major ideas that circulate around death. And then we have our wands. So here's some of our minors. King, Queen. I love this knight. It's hilarious. And our page. And then coming into the minors, oh that's right, I forgot they have all the court cards together. So there's our King of Cups, our Queen, our Knight of Cups. I love that the knights have that kind of traditional idea of people riding things, but they're all riding monsters. That's fantastic. And then our page. Then we'll go into swords. So we have our King, our Queen, our Knight. Oh, that's a good one. And our page. And then we have our Pentacles. Oh, geez. And so, boom, right off the bat, we have our wands with our fire energy. Our wands we've got the jack-o'-lanterns, and pretty much all of our minor cards and wands, we're going to see that jack-o'-lantern popping up there, but we've got the fire energy and that idea of motion and action happening in these. And then we get into our cups. Now, one thing that may be a little bit troublesome for people who are not super comfortable with just knowing right off the bat what each card means is that you do not see very clear imagery on these in terms of the suit. So here we have the Eight of Cups, and There's no cups. I'm not quite really sure what the if there is a representation on here in terms of what that key symbol would be. So that is something to keep in mind. Again, really good reason for you to take time and spend time with this deck before you decide to read with it. Because if I lay this cup card next to the wand, this wand, okay, that's that one I can tell because I can see the fire in that one. But this one, this wand next to this cup, I don't necessarily get the energy of water and cups that I would in some other decks with this 10 of cups. Similarly with this this wand, I don't necessarily get the energy that I would always get. And because the numbers are right up at the top, they're really, really hard to see. I don't see, 10 of something on here to tell me, to give me the visual clue. So that could be a little challenging and is something to keep in mind if you do decide that you want to play with this deck. Swords. Now there's a great ace card really showing that element of air. These are a little more airy. I can get that vibe. And here, this 4 of Swords calls back to the RWS artwork, so that I can see. So they kind of are a mix between some cards that really do give you the energy from the more traditional RWS deck, and some that are not so much. So here we have our Pentacles. That one is very classic, very much inspired by the RWS. And again, that's not a bad thing. I personally really like working with decks like this because it sort of pushes me out of really relying on my knowledge of what the cards kind of mean in the classic sense. And what I love about a deck like this is that since I can't just instantly look at the card and say, in some cases I definitely can, but like for instance, this is the 2 of Swords, and I don't see in this card the classic 2 swords crossed preventing me from moving forward. So instead, what's going to happen when I read this card, when I look at it, is I'm probably going to pull meanings that are completely different. Now, if I look at the number and I look at the words, I love the fact that the words are on bold. That really definitely helps. So I don't necessarily see clear swords in each of these cards, but because the word's there, that's really all I need. But because I don't see that more traditional imagery in this card, it's going to allow me to tap in so much more to my intuition. So I would say that if you're looking for a deck that will really allow you to come into your intuitive side with a little bit of some classic kind of campy fun energy, this is a great deck for that, especially for the season. So again, this is the Trick or Treat Tarot. Really super fun, awesome, little cute vintage deck. And I've been Misha with Cypress Pillar Healing Arts, and thank you so much for checking out this deck with me. I'll see you next time.